Western who said no taxes. Take your own customs. Don't bother to follow our environmental laws. You make up your own laws. Do as you like. Come and go as you like. We have no control.
This is Antigua.
But rent my place. Rent my place. And don't just rent my place for what other people rent. Pay $54,000 a month. That's what I want. $54,000 a month. So, let's say common sense is anybody with common sense who were to look at this, they said this does not look right.
And what does that say to the people of Antigua and Barbuda?
It says, when a man tell you that he is into self-enrichment, creative self-enrichment. Now remember, self-enrichment can come in many forms. But he's saying no, creative self-enrichment. That's what he promoted. So he is working his brain now to see creatively how he's going to enrich himself. And it's there for you to see. Creatively, that you negotiate a deal. You give everything to the person you're negotiating with. And then at the back end, you get your place rented for $54,000 a month. Well, if that is not creative enrichment, and if you're saying, what does that say? Come on. I mean, anybody can look at that and see it for what it is. And we need to call it out. It is a rape of the institutions of Antigua and Barbuda. It is a disgrace for a prime minister of a country to be engaged in that sort of low-down hustle. Because that's what it is. That's what it is. He's supposed to say, look, you need a place to rent. You recommend some real estate agents. And you say, if you speak to these people, you can rent a place. Spread the money around. Let other people benefit. Let somebody else get rent. No, he wants the rent for himself. Just like I said, over at Jennings, the Cubans, they stay right in that complex. Same complex that has that where the family has the controlling stake. And that is the definition of creative enrichment.
So the whole issue of conflict of interest, how do we go forward with this? What should be, what should be the reaction of the public where this is concerned?
Well, look, you see, some people, as I say, may not see everything. But the point is, the Director of Public Prosecutions needs to investigate this matter. Based on the Prevention of Corruption Act, it is a crime for any public official to allow their personal interests to conflict with their public duties. And the public duty of the Prime Minister in these circumstances is a duty to ensure that the interests of the country are protected. Now, anybody can look at the so-called license order granted to these people, and when they look at that, I would like them to look me in the eye and tell me that that is in the interest of Antigua and Barbuda. I say it is not in the interest of Antigua and Barbuda. In the first place, we already have a Free Trade and Processing Zone Act. Under that act, the area would be brought under the control of the government of Antigua and Barbuda. Royalties would be paid, and they would be paid to the government, and the people would benefit. But giving it away, and giving them all the rights that belong to a sovereign government, and then, in the end, your private interest as the owner of freehold property, and you rent that out to the same person, obviously, there's a conflict between your public duty and your private interest. Which were you protecting at the time when that was done? Were you protecting the public interest, or were you engineering a scheme for your private interest and benefit? That's a conflict of interest.
So the question I'd put to you, as political leader of the UPP, would this be a case that you would consider putting before the Integrity Commission?
Well, the Integrity Commission, as you know,
yes,
is as good as a dead sheep. You know that. The point, however, it is an institution that exists, and perhaps what we could do, I mean, we could take this one all the way, because this is certainly a matter for the Integrity Commission. It is a matter for the DPP also to investigate. It is a matter for public outrage, because if we accept such low standards, the standards of a hustler, if we accept the standards of a hustler as being the appropriate standard for a prime minister of this country, then we would be selling ourselves short. I'm saying that when you look in the past, you go through the ranks of the original Antigua Labour Party, and you bring to mind people like Ernest Williams, Denfield Hurst, Lake, these men who Carrot and so on. Whether you agreed with them, yes or no, they weren't involved in these kind of little things here. They were about the business of serving people. As I said, they were not people who we always agreed with, but you didn't see them engaging in this. And then you go through again all the other cabinets that have existed. You don't find any other prime minister behaving in this way. And so I'm saying that it represents a new low in the hustle standards that we've seen this prime minister engage in. And I haven't mentioned, the Long Bay thing. The whole transaction in Long Bay.
Yes.
The only family that benefited from that was his family. That's the only family that benefited. And you see it happening here again. And in a hard time, when people are suffering, and he should be making sure that as many people as possible can benefit from any opportunities that may arise. Because again, I'm saying I don't agree with the Western Imperial Economic Zone. I'm saying governments are supposed to control free trade zones, and governments should charge royalties for people who operate in a free trade zone. You do not give the whole free trade zone to somebody else and tell them to run it, and they collect the money from anybody who comes to operate it. That's dunceness personified.